Hello, Canada, and the world at large. This is Lane from Canada. I'm going to be really upfront with you guys here. Due to the ongoing terror attacks in Israel and its pretty scary potential for global repercussions, I thought about taking a sabbatical from making videos for a while, or even calling an end of Season 2 of this channel until 2024. But I decided that the enemies of free countries count on us having reactions like that more than anything else, even if they've never heard of me and never will. When we're cowed into silence or even into stifling our enjoyment of the first world perks that we are blessed with in peaceful, prosperous nations, that's giving the victory of demoralization to those who willingly inflict terror on others. Whether those terrorists be the blue-haired people on university campuses screaming for the abolishment of the only government systems on the planet that allow you to scream for the abolishment of them, or international demons who slaughter innocent civilians, we owe it to ourselves to piss off those little bastards. We owe it to our freedom-loving world to say, hey, we're here, we're free, we're laughing, we're not going to shut up, and terrorists and all those who cheer for terrorists can go screw themselves with a corn cob. What I did decide was to change my planned review of a lighthearted comedy to a movie that's been weighing a bit on my heart since the attacks began. Some days, we just need a reminder of what heroes are.
That's the sound of the police!
Welcome to Before Movies Sucked, and this is Tears of the Sun. After growing unrest in Nigeria, the formerly exiled General Yakubu leads a vicious army of Fulani Muslim rebels in a surprise coup d'etat. They quickly topple the democratic Nigerian government, assassinating President Samuel Azuka and his family. The northern rebels then begin a merciless campaign against the Christian Igbo tribes who populate the southern regions of the country. The U.S. government orders its military forces in the region to begin evacuating all American personnel from the battle-ravaged country. From the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier, Navy SEAL Lieutenant Waters and his team successfully evacuate the U.S. Embassy, but are immediately dispatched on another rescue mission. Their target is Dr. Lena Kendricks, the widowed daughter-in-law of a U.S. senator, who is providing medical aid to refugees at St. Michael's Mission near the Cameroonian border. Once evacuated, the team will have to march through 7 miles of jungle to a safe extraction point. They are also authorized to evacuate the non-indigenous mission workers, an Italian priest and 2 Irish nuns. Waters and several other SEALs covertly infiltrate the mission and locate Dr. Holy crap! Monica Bellucci is hotter than that time that I, inspired by that scene in Ratatouille, roasted a whole perfectly seasoned portobello mushroom over an open flame and then bit into it after misjudging the prerequisite cool-down period. But she also signed Harvey Weinstein's petition in support of convicted child rapist Roman Polanski, so... Lena refuses to evacuate without 70 refugees who are at the mission, many of them critically wounded. Waters compromises, stating they can only take the 40 refugees who are strong enough to move without assistance. Knowing that the remaining patients are likely to be killed by a group of rebels who are moving into the area, the priest and nuns acceptantly remain behind, unwilling to abandon their patients. The team begins the long trek through the jungle, slowed by their entourage, which includes children and the elderly. They are almost detected by a rebel patrol in the middle of the night, but evade them by hiding in the foliage. A straggling rebel soldier spots Lena, but Waters silently kills him. Arriving at the extraction point, Lena is furious to learn that Waters had no intention of evacuating the refugees, but only allowed them to come along to ensure Lena's cooperation. However, as they evacuate in helicopters, they see that the mission has been destroyed by the rebels, who have slaughtered everyone who was left behind. Stricken by his conscience, Waters abruptly orders the choppers to return to the evac site, now determined to get Lena's refugee friends to the safety of the Cameroonian border. They load 12 of the weakest refugees into the helicopter and send them to Cameroon. However, increased hostilities on the ground prevent their commanding officer, Captain Rhodes, from sending the choppers back into Nigerian airspace to complete the evacuation, forcing the team to fall back the remaining 40 miles to the border on foot. Saw gunner Slow also receives satellite imagery that seems to show a platoon of rebels behind them. In the jungle, the team observes a small village in their path that has been overrun by rebels. The rebels conduct a sadistic ethnic cleansing, indiscriminately killing and raping the Igbo tribespeople. Waters again refuses to look away from another massacre, and the SEALs covertly attack the rebels and save the few remaining villagers, while marksman Flea begins picking off rebels from a sniper's perch. In the battle, Waters is injured by a rebel, but his life is saved by one of the refugees from the mission, a former soldier named Okizi. However, the victory is bitter as the soldiers are horrified by the brutality they have witnessed. This includes a dying woman whose body was mutilated as a warning to others after her baby was murdered, and a child soldier who a SEAL named Lake was forced to kill. A SEAL named Red, who had previously objected to Waters' deviance from their original plan, seems particularly hard hit as the team's corpsman, Doc, begins doing what little he can for the injured villagers. The refugees, most of them having seen such atrocities before, surprise the SEALs by quietly beginning to scavenge gear, clothing, and weapons from the dead rebels.
How can they do this?
This is what they do. They cut off the breasts of nursing mothers so that they'll never again feed their own babies. This is what they do.
This scene is as brutal of a reality check to the civilized world as has ever been put to film in much more critically acclaimed movies, and even describing it here is hard for me. However, Before Movies Sucked is still primarily a comedy channel, and we need to piss off the terrorists who want us all subdued and afraid. So here's a more likable Nevada tribal officer ramming a hippie roadblock at Burning Man. The next morning, Slow and Waters realize that the rebel force behind them has grown to over 300 men and have been rapidly closing in on them all night, not even stopping to make camp.
How long we got? An hour. 2 tops. Shouldn't have stopped. How the f*** are they tracking us at night? Someone's transmitting something.
Waters asks Lena to point out everyone who arrived at the mission since the conflict began 3 days earlier. She identifies 3 men, a close friend of hers named Gideon, Okizi, and a young man named Arthur. Gideon panics and flees, forcing the team's sniper, Silk, to shoot him, and Red finds a transmitter on his body. As he dies, Gideon admits that the rebels have stolen his family, and he was coerced into finding and following Arthur.
Why would anybody want to transmit our position? Transmit our position to over 300 Nigerian soldiers who ran all night to get to within an hour and a half of where we are now.
Red.
Somebody's gonna tell me. Somebody's gonna start talking right now. Because if they don't, tell me what I want to know. The time I count to 5, I'm gonna kill someone else. 1, 2, 3. Don't f with me. 4.
Please. Please. There's no need for this. Please.
Now you got something to say to me, don't you?
My name is Arthur Azuka. I'm the only son of President Samuel Azuka. They murdered my father, along with my mother, and my 2 younger sisters. Out of greed. My father's fight for democracy, for his people. Lieutenant, his father was more than the president. He was the tribal king. That makes him the heir to the Igbo nation. It's a bloodline they must cut. The Fulanis will come heaven and earth to find him.
Waters contacts Captain Rhodes with the new information, but they are advised to abandon Arthur as their protection of him could draw America into a foreign conflict against the fledgling rebel government. Waters promises Rhodes that he will complete his mission in spite of the added danger. Oh yeah, and then this happens! Compare the coordinated movements and weapons handling of the actors in this scene to another movie that I actually inexplicably liked, Final Girl, wherein trained government operative Abigail Breslin has clearly never held a weapon before. Nice trigger discipline there, Abby. As the attack begins, radio operator Z calls in air support, and Rhodes scrambles two FA-18s. In a final running battle, the SEALs and armed refugees desperately try to hold the line against an onslaught of hundreds of rebels, allowing the others time to escape. Several refugees are killed, including O'Keezy, and Lena is injured and knocked unconscious by an explosion, forcing Waters and Arthur to carry her. Slow, Lake, Flea, and Silk are also killed in the battle. Arthur helps Lena to the border crossing, while Waters returns to rescue Z, who is seriously injured.
Go, 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 now, run! Run straight for that gate! Kansas, we have to go! Go! Where's Silk and Red?
Silk's dead. I don't think Red made it. You stay with me, Z. Z, you stay with me. Stay with me.
Come on, Red! Come on! Move on! Come on! Come on! Red, come on! Get down! Get head down! Cover!
Arrives to open the border crossing, helping Lena and the injured SEALs into helicopters as the refugees finally cross into the safety of Cameroon. After a tearful farewell with their friends, Lena and the team are evacuated. Arthur is recognized by his tribesmen, who gather around and celebrate that their new king has survived. Arthur yells freedom, continuing his father's work to build a free Nigeria. I love this movie, but it is an emotionally draining experience every time I watch it, which is further proof that most professional critics don't know what they're talking about. This is a movie about war and the brave men and women driven by conscience to save as many lives as they can. You're not going to get any deep insights into the character of any of the soldiers, as these are professional heroes who are on task for the duration of the film. They all respond in different ways to the horrors they are forced to witness, but even their moments of vulnerability only drive them to complete a mission of conscience beyond their initial directive. As far as acting goes, the most noteworthy is actually Princess Okosia Buzia, a literal Ghanaian princess, who plays the refugee Patience. Patience is a close friend of Lena, the mother of a young daughter, and she was formerly one of the many children who were forced into military service in a previous war before escaping to the mission when she was 10 years old. She steals every scene she's in, particularly when she has a bonding moment with Z, when she says goodbye to Waters, and most notably when she explains to Doc and Red the horrifying reasoning behind the rebels' mutilation of their victims. Lieutenant Waters is the kind of role that Bruce Willis was born for. Although it should be noted that the average age of a lieutenant in the US military is 25, and even back in 2003, Bruce Willis wasn't that. However, the entire movie was his own passion project that he pushed hard to have made for several years, and I'll always be grateful to him for that. Despite being a box office bomb that didn't even recoup its budget, Tears of the Sun is in my top 3 Bruce Willis movies alongside Die Hard and Unbreakable. There's a big difference between an actor playing an action hero and playing a soldier. There are certain members of the Hollywood elite who I believe should never even attempt a respectful portrayal of soldiers, particularly A-list movie stars. Also, somebody's probably going to get mad at me because I'm not sure if SEALs are actually referred to as soldiers. My brother will chew me out. He was in the military for 20 years. Honestly, the all-star cast was the primary factor that kept me from enjoying The Thin Red Line, but Bruce Willis has never come close to being on that exclusionary list. Throughout his career, he carried the deepest respect for the U.S. military and did a lot of work to help his country's active servicemen, even touring with the USO. For this reason, Tears of the Sun is a film I consider akin to newer releases like The Terminal List and 13 Hours. It is not enough for the actors to just be devoted to the craft of acting and military training, just like it's not enough for the filmmakers to be devoted to making every moment of combat feel as close to reality as possible. There has to also be a palpable reverence for the men who fight and die for freedom in every scene, and Bruce Willis pulls that off perfectly, as does every other actor portraying the SEALs. The distinction between craft devotion and subject matter reverence may seem negligible, but it's incredibly important when it comes to identifying which films I love the most. By every available critical, acting, and technical metric, Movies like The Thin Red Line and Saving Private Ryan are considered to be far better war movies, and directors Terrence Malick and Steven Spielberg are considered to be among the greatest filmmakers. But I love movies like Tears of the Sun and 13 Hours More simply because of that distinction of reverence. And trust me, it's pretty rare that you'll hear me say that about movies directed by Antoine Fuqua and Michael Bay. That's not a knock, as they both make action movies of varying degrees of quality, some of which I've greatly enjoyed over the years. But particularly in those two movies, they rose above any technical shortcomings and the complaints of the commie critics, simply because they understood the heroism and sacrifice of soldiers. Could this movie be made today? Black on black crime, including that which is ethnically based, exists. Like, a lot.
Black people can't be racist.
We have no soldiers, we have both. We have only sick people here, eh? We have only sick people here. Please.
Blue-haired people have been very publicly cheering on Hamas terrorists killing more than 1,400 Israelis in recent days, including the official Twitter accounts of BLM, Antifa, and Starbucks, don't appreciate Colonel Sadek saying the quiet part about radical Islam out loud like that.
This jungle is filling up with rebel troops. When they get to this mission, they will kill everything they see, including privileged white doctors.
I've been reasonably assured by the blue-haired people that white privilege is a shield against literally everything except an obligated sense of self-loathing, so Lena should be fine.
Hey, where are the white women at?
That's a great idea, Red. Drugging and kidnapping an American doctor.
I ain't sure the is American.
America first mindset.
At some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
But you know what? Red's right on that one. I don't even care what the blue-haired people think, and I don't care if you're a foreign national who married in. If you're going to call yourself an American, learn how to talk American, damn it.
We need to evolve our institutions.
I'm Canadian. I didn't get a word of that.
We need to evolve our institutions. We need to evolve our institutions. We need to evolve our institutions. We need to evolve our institutions.
Now get on the helicopter.
What about my people?
Not here for them.
You lied to me! You lied to me!
The bards will sing ballads of how ineffectual that slap was, but the biological reality of busty Italian model versus Navy SEAL does not compute with the blue-haired people. If Monica Bellucci was current-day Margot Robbie, Bruce Willis would be on his ass.
Lena, listen. Wake up.
Lena not only shows a lot of cleavage and never gets a single girl boss moment, but she actually saws logs through most of the final battle. I'm sorry, Monica Bellucci, but we now live in a world wherein black mermaids can helm a barely buoyant ship around a maelstrom vortex and into giant sea witches in the middle of a tempest without even possessing the absolute bare necessities of ship helming, such as, you know, legs, feet, and the collaborative ability to brace them against the deck.
Nothing! You've got nothing! Nothing!
Lieutenant!
Ma'am.
Get those weapons out of my operating room. You're frightening my
The
staff.
casting of Italian sex symbol Monica Bellucci has the unfortunate effect of making Lena a character who has both the skillful hands of a surgeon and the ample mammary glands and childbearing hips of Monica Bellucci. This leaves us with the horrifying implication that she could make both awesome babies and sandwiches.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937.
All we've got.
God already left Africa.
Now, I have zero problem with lumping statements like that, since generalizations are a great way to make the blue-haired people's faces melt off. The funniest thing that's happened with this channel so far was some random Hindu guy from India flipping out on reporting me to YouTube for using the phrases civilized nations and uncivilized nations in my Lara Croft Tomb Raider review. In a series of ranting comments wherein he implied that Adolf Hitler and Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II were best buddies because they both claimed vague adherence to an Abrahamic faith. Now, to be fair to him, determining the criteria needed to differentiate civilized from uncivilized nations is a matter that merits deeper discussion, and I'd be happy to have that conversation with him. However, the discussion-allergic blue-haired people who are currently backing legislation in support of a 2-year prison sentence for the crime of misgendering tend to be a little less forgiving of a failure to differentiate one sovereign nation from the 53 other sovereign nations in the second largest continent on the planet.
What do you mean, you people?
Bruce Willis is rumored to occasionally vote Republican.
We get him to the LZ, and we leave him behind to die like the others. I'm confused, and the boys are confused.
Get to the point.
Why'd you turn that bird around, LT?
I don't know the sexual orientation or gender identity of any of these people. There are a lot of troubling indicators of heteronormativity, so the XLG BLT community would be a lot safer if all these characters introduce themselves with their pronouns.
We'll never apologize for standing up for a LBG.
So who is gay?
Your secondary objective is to extract 2 nuns and a priest to run a feel-good near Yolingo, if they so choose to leave.
The premise of this mission is literally go save the white people.
Like, how do you define racism?
Well, so racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas.
Turn it around.
Falling Waters' attack of conscience, the premise of the mission goes from go save the white people to white savior narrative. Typical toxic man.
Lieutenant, his father was more than the president. He was the tribal king. That makes him the heir to the Igbo nation.
And just like that, the premise of the mission goes from go save the white people to white savior narrative to go save the Christian male at the top of the societal class hierarchy. This is the most infuriating Black Lives Matter film the blue-haired people have ever seen.
The other thing I'll say is Palestine is our generation South Africa. And if we don't step up boldly and courageously to end the imperialist project that's called Israel, we're doomed.
That's a huge bitch!
Monica Bellucci's hot, and she shouldn't be hot. She should be ugly and fat and demanding that all hotels undergo multi-million-dollar renovations to make their hallways wider in order to better accommodate the body-positive community.
These are the exact steps that hotels can take to be more size-inclusive and accessible for travelers of all sizes. Elevators and hallways spacious.
This is not okay. It's time to stop. It's time to stop.
How about you, Red?
I can't look at them like packages anymore. I'm gonna get them out, or I'm gonna die trying.
We there yet?
We've got Bruce Willis, Nick Chinlund, Cole Hauser, Eamonn Walker, Johnny Messner, and Tom Skerritt in a movie that would exceed the modern permissible amount of toxic masculinity with the inclusion of even one of them. Get with the times, guy who directed Training Day. Should have given it to Greta Gerwig.
There felt something sparky about it.
Now this man is dead. If you don't want his death to be meaningless, it's time for you to become a fucking man and get your people into Cameroon. Now cowboy the fuck up.
Cowboying up presented as a pinacular masculine trait which even elite soldiers and bloodline royalty reverently aspire to.
Fill your hand, you son of a
famous day in history of the 7th chapter.
I don't care if they're willingly laying down their lives to carry out an unsanctioned intervention and save the lives of oppressed Nigerians. Where are the body-positive, non-binary black lesbians on this SEAL team?
I'm an 8-year military veteran. I'm a college student. I'm a black woman. And I believe that white privilege exists.
That's a huge bitch!
You're in good hands, America. Here's a more likable tutorial on how to cook traditional Brazilian dishes in Rio de Janeiro. Just like Avo used to make.
So I cook all of them like this in small pieces. So this is our food. I'll let everything cook. This is how the ground beef looks like. So this is how it looks like. Melt the cheese. Whoa, cheesy.
Great googly woogly!
Ah, delicious.
No idea why that video has so many views. She's literally just making mashed potatoes with hamburger. America!
I'm ashamed to be an American where not all folks are free. And I won't forget the enslaved who died and built this place for free. So I proudly lift up all the folks who are still oppressed today.
Okay, shut up, you ungrateful terrorist bitches. Cut to the eyeball Windex.
You want a hot body? You want a Bugatti? You want a Maserati?
Anyone who's seen this movie will probably agree that its depiction of unspeakable genocidal brutality is what most strongly sears into your conscience and makes you rethink your own petty first world complaints. Many of the extras who played the refugees underwater protection were real-life survivors of genocide, and their tearful reaction to the ethnic cleansing scene was not scripted. To me, the most unforgettable moment in the movie is the old man who begins weeping as he watches the atrocities in the village. That was not acting. That was a moment that makes me want to punch in the face anybody who frivolously uses the word triggered. That was a man being brought back face to face with things that no man should have placed into his memory in the first place. We all have things we've seen that we wish we could forget. As some of you know, my day job is a paramedic, and there are things I've seen that will never be mentioned on this channel. But most of those things were accidents, stupidity, bad judgment. It was very rare that there was wanton evil involved. But somehow even those memories feel pretty hollow in the aftermath of the slaughters that I've forced myself to not look away from in the past few weeks. And in those moments, I remember how much we owe to heroes, especially in countries that have safety and a will to fight for threatened freedoms directly because of the past sacrifices of heroes. In 1914, Lawrence Binyon published For the Fallen, and I post the third and fourth stanzas of the poem every year on Remembrance Day, November 11th. To me, it is the perfect tribute not only to fallen soldiers, but to every hero who has held fast to the cause of justice and truth at the cost of their own lives. Binyon wrote, "They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them."